Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Positively Awesome Wrestling Podcast. We have returned after another week hiatus. I apologize. That one was on me. I was out meeting the Hardy Boys and all the other good stuff. So at least there was a reason for it, and I wasn't just being lazy, everybody. But Albert, how you been, man? It's been, again, another 2-week break where we haven't really chatted much. How has the wrestling been treating you, man?
Actually, the wrestling's been good. We've got a good. I feel like we've got a good week of wrestling. I mean, a really good week of wrestling. I've been enjoying myself. And hey, first and foremost, happy Father's Day to you, Jimmy. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.
Thank you much with that. And yes, happy Father's Day to all the people out there that are watching. I went out and I celebrated on the boat, chilled with the fam today, so I had myself a good day. Hope everyone else had a good day as well. Comment time. Looking good, babe. Happy Father's Day. Thank you very much, babe. Says hello, Albert. Cameron's in the chat. What up, Cameron? Hello, Albert. What up, Cameron? Thank you for joining us. And what up, Courtney? Thank you for joining us as well. I think that the theme, I'm going to start doing themes here. The theme of this show is going to be that last week's wrestling was fantastic. I know that's a stupid theme and it doesn't really make sense, but I don't care. I didn't watch a single bad episode of wrestling last week, and I watched more than I normally do. So that's like crazy to think about. Raw was great. NXT was good. Dynamite was good. SmackDown was good. I enjoyed Rampage, and then Collision, which we will talk more about later, was so.
SmackDown and Collision. I mean, both of those shows this week just absolutely blew me away.
Yeah. We have a good word. So what we'll do is word of the week is last week's wrestling was awesome. It's one word. I'm merging them all together. Deal with it. Last week's wrestling was awesome. That's the word of the week. So I don't even really know where to start. So I'm literally just going to give you the open forum here. Where do you want to start with what happened last week? Because again,
I feel like a lot has gone on with AEW to the point where I feel like they should kind of almost be in the main event slot here.
Okay.
And I think let's start off hot. Let's start off with the Bloodline, man. I mean, that episode of Friday Night SmackDown, the way it ended.
Man, I just want to get this out of the gate real quick. And before we start, Tidy, if you watch, man, you are missed, sir. You are missed. Hope you can come back soon, though. But come back when you're ready, bud. But you are definitely missed. I know this is one of his favorite topics to talk about. So I wanted to get that out before we jumped into it.
We're missing you this week, bud.
When Jay turned around, matter of fact, before he even turned around, I looked at my son. I said, "And I'm out too." I knew it was coming, and then he kicked Roman. I jumped off the couch and everything. I was like, "Yeah!" It was. First question I have about this is, I feel like we've asked this question, but at this point, has there any storyline we've ever been given that has delivered us this many moments that just made you go, damn, we're watching something special?
There's only one storyline that I can think of that has been consistent as the Bloodline story, that's given us twist and turn, that's kept us entertained, and that's Austin McMahon. Other than that, I don't think there's anything that's lasted this long, that's encapsulated a time period this long. Like, we're living in the Bloodline era. That's really what we're at this point. I mean, the Attitude Era was really the Austin versus McMahon era. This era is the Bloodline era. That is, I mean, everything that we're talking about every week, even when it's not at the forefront, people are like, man, how come the Bloodline wasn't at the forefront this week? It's encapsulated wrestling. It's the biggest story in wrestling right now, and this week just delivered. So much so that I actually, Friday night, I started watching the show. I started watching a little bit late, and I accidentally kind of drifted off in the middle of the show. So I had to watch it the next morning. I had a DVR, and my best friend, who's not really a big wrestling fan, came over, and I told him, I was like, hey, bud, listen, I got to watch this. I'm at the last 10 minutes of this. I got to know what happens. He's like, all right, cool. Within 10 seconds, I filled him in briefly about what was going on.
Yeah.
Enthralled. I mean, completely encapsulated. Didn't see it coming. He even reacted pretty big at the betrayal. And he was like, oh, wow, I didn't think that was coming. It looked like he was going to side with them. I was like,
yeah.
This is it. This is exactly what I want. Like, you get a casual wrestling fan in there. And all of a sudden, he's like, damn, I kind of want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
The perfect story.
It's just another, because, man, I don't know where to even start with it, honestly. I don't think we've ever had a storyline that was so effective in the essence that this storyline has made it so where Roman Reigns don't have to be there every week. And I know people give him crap, part-time reports. Yeah, he is a part-timer, unfortunately. But let's be real. When he's not there, the shows kind of still revolve around things that he's got his fingerprints all over. The Bloodline story, I think, has become bigger than Roman Reigns, which is kind of a crazy. I don't think there's ever been a storyline that became bigger than than any of the acts, if that makes sense. I really can't think of one, because if Jey Uso's not there, it doesn't matter. They can still keep going with the storyline, and they can add that to it. Roman Reigns isn't there. We've seen it multiple times. He doesn't need to be there. The storyline can keep going. Literally, there's nobody that is just vastly. It's almost like a perfect casted television show, like The Office, Parks and Rec, Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's no one character that's like, man, if we don't have that character, we're screwed. It's like, it's just great storytelling. And man, the moments just keep piling up. To the point, I don't know if you've seen anybody say this. I've seen people talk about they feel bad for Roman after Friday. That's the kind of just how this thing just goes literally everywhere. And I don't even think they're crazy for thinking that. I can actually watch the story, wrap my head around their thought process, like, you know what? They're not wrong. I can see where they're coming from. It's crazy. This is the most fantastic story, man, I think I've ever watched. I know I'm going to come across a huge mark here. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's that good.
It really is.
It's that good.
And the crazy thing is that Roman is poised to be a huge babyface after this, because if you really want to get theoretical, yes, Roman's been abusive, but Roman hasn't kicked any of his family out of the bloodline yet. He never kicked out Sammy.
Didn't he kick out Jimmy?
Jimmy kicked him in the face. He thought Jimmy was coming out to help him at Night of Champions.
Hey, but to be fair here, Roman kind of terrorized them in the beginning too, when it was supposed to be okay. So I think I don't know. I feel like he did kick Jimmy out.
He was leaning towards it, but I mean, technically, he kicked Jimmy out when Jimmy kicked him in the face at Night of Champions. They were on the same page at that point. He was being abusive. He was, but he didn't kick him out. They were still all the bloodline that Friday right before.
Yeah.
So for me, I can see how the WWE can spin it in a way of saying Roman never turned on his family. His family turned on him. Was he abusive? Was he a little bit of a menace? Sure, but his family all turned their backs on him.
Nah, man, that man is what is the word? He is
he's a tyrant.
Yeah, he's not a good guy. Y'all crazy.
I'm telling you, they're gonna spin it that way.
I think this is Lou. What up, Lou? Sorry, my Facebook went crazy there for a minute, so I didn't see what it was. I'm pretty sure it's Lou though. What up, bud? Yeah, I cannot believe that, but I feel like it was going to mention. Yeah. I think everyone knew it was going to happen. I think again, part of what makes this shit so good is the fact that we know this stuff is coming, and they're still able to give us something that's just like, wow, just wow. Like you got me. It's not what I thought you were doing, but it's not bad either. It's just wow. Got Don. What up, Donnie? Thank you for joining, bud. Best storyline says Omar said his favorite color is base. We got the biggest Homo sapien in the house with Donnie here.
Love it.
Yeah, man. I honestly, because I know I could just talk about the bloodline stuff all day.
Seriously though, I mean, come on.
I can't see who it is. This man coming. So it must be Tom. There it is. It is Tom. My bad, Tom. That's Tom. Tom just as cool as Lou. Appreciate you jumping in, Tom. I can't see though. It just tells me Facebook user, and then my Facebook crashed, so I can't see. I can't deal with it. Tom, you be all right, bud.
So Cameron, you asked, do you think Solo will betray Roman? I think it's got to come sooner or later, right? I think that at this point, that's got to be the next step. If everybody else has kind of turned their back on Roman, I think Solo stays loyal until Solo doesn't need to stay loyal anymore. Maybe Paul Heyman's. Roman said something interesting. Paul Heyman's not the Usos wise man. He's not Solo Sikoa's wise man. He's Roman Reigns' wise man. And I thought that was very interesting. And the reaction that Paul kind of had on his face. And Solo was a little bit weird. Like, I mean, he's kind of, I think, Solo in a way is like, he's kind of my wise man too, Roman. Kind of watch your back.
So I guess the question here, when do you see Roman taking on Jey Uso again?
So, I mean, they announced the tag team match, right?
Money in the Bank.
We're getting that at Money in the Bank.
Okay, let's start there. How do you and you have the pen in your hand? How do you end this match? And what is it leading to? For SummerSlam, obviously, because that's the next show.
I think that at this point, Roman, the Usos pin Solo Sikoa. So now Roman's got an out. Yes, they lost, but they beat Solo. And I think that it has to be Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam for the championship. I think that's where they got to go.
I'm agreeing with you on the SummerSlam match. I know I'm being crazy again because I did the same thing with Sammy when it was Sammy and Kevin versus Roman and Solo. And everyone's like, you can't have Roman getting pinned unless he's losing those belts. I don't agree with that at all. Because at the end of the day, I think you just brought up a great point. If he loses, he could still use Solo as a scapegoat. So, and then how do you set that whole thing into motion? How do you get Solo to start questioning his loyalty to Roman? You have Roman start to accuse him of some things like that, and then Solo's kind of like, what? And then Solo leaves with Paul Heyman in the end, which I think we all kind of, again, I think we all kind of have the blueprint of what's happening. It's just a matter of how it's going to happen and when it's going to happen at this point.
Right.
I think Jey pins Roman at Money in the Bank.
I mean, I would love to see it. There's a part of me that would say that'd be awesome. But another part of me is being like, and I hate being this guy because, there is that part of me that I really just want to enjoy the show and I don't want to think too deep into it. But man, I think it would just hurt the Roman Reigns title reign a little bit too much if he gets pinned in a non-title match. 3 years into this run, he's gonna get beat soon. If it's gonna happen soon, wait to pull the trigger so the impact is even bigger. Because now, and then it's also the statistic. It's that whole thing where I don't think Gunther throughout his entire title reign he's been pinned, and they like to do that. Like they haven't been pinned throughout their entire title reign, and I think that holds it holds ground because usually when we look back, especially this is a very 80s sort of booking. 3-year title run, all this kind of stuff. Even when heels were, on the top, they would always lose in tag matches. They would lose non-title matches. So now with Roman not doing that, it goes against the grain. And I think it sets a good story, and it makes everybody feel that Roman is like this unstoppable juggernaut. If they show a kink in the armor, I mean, it's a cool story, but then I feel like it's almost when Cody gets that moment, it's almost like damaged goods, and that's just one man's opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm gonna do my best to kind of sway you a little bit.
Sure, I love that.
Okay, so if we're getting to Jey Roman at SummerSlam, that's a big match. But realistically, if we go back and we look, they've already had this match twice, and Roman kind of smashed them both times. So, what about this match would make you feel like he has a much better chance of winning based on the fact that we've already seen him kind of get smashed twice? I feel like if he was to pin Roman, it kind of puts that into our heads. We're like, oh, this is a different Jey. And
so, I don't think they need it.
They don't, but hold on. And if we're realistically thinking here, everyone's been saying this for a long time. Jey, if he's not the main character of the show, he's the second most. He's the
supporting actor.
So, if anybody kind of deserves this moment in this spot, I know I said Sammy did, and I stand by. I think Sammy should have gotten that moment for sure, and it would have lessened this one for sure. So the fact they didn't do it, you know what? I was wrong. I tend to be wrong when I go with my heart. So be it. This time, I think I'm thinking a little bit more with my head when I talk about this. And that I think Jey pinning him at Money in the Bank over some shenanigans. Obviously, it can't just be clean. He beats Roman clean. There's shenanigans involved with it, and Jey wins. And then Jey goes on to SummerSlam, but he loses. And then from there, you have Payback, I think it's September. Roman versus Jimmy. And then I think we get Royal at the Royal Rumble. You're going to get Solo and Roman. And then by that time, what happens is the whole bloodline has crumbled. Cody Rhodes is winning his chance to go take on the world champ again. And this time, he has a fair fight. The Empire is at its weakest, and Cody Rhodes is striking at the most opportune time. And that's how you get the belt on Cody Rhodes while still making Roman look beast mode still to an extent. And you cap off the greatest story. That's what I think they're going with. I don't know where Solo turns, but I think you start planting the seeds, and I think you could do that with the tag team match at Money in the Bank.
I agree. So here's my thing. The reason why I think that they don't need the turn is that they have enough in Jay's character right now to differentiate where he was, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, he was a tag team wrestler. He lost his brother. He won a fatal 4-way, kind of almost like squeaked his way in. He still loved Roman. He still respected Roman. This is a completely different Jay. Jay has no love for Roman anymore. He's got no respect for Roman. And now he has every right to go and say, you thought that you were grooming me to be the tribal chief. Now I'm going to take it. And that gives him enough without having pinned him. Now, I will say this. What I would like to see is some sort of a shenanigans sort of a way where Jay super kicks Roman. 1, 2, 3, but Heyman puts Roman's foot on the rope. Referee counts 3, the Usos music plays. It looks like he beats him. Then they go back and they're like, no, his foot was on the rope, and then they call it back. Then Jay can say, look, I had you beat.
Yeah.
I beat you. I pinned you. If you want to go that route, I'm okay if they do it that way. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see anybody pin Roman until Roman gets pinned for those titles.
Part of me, this is probably the fanboy me speaking a little bit. I just hate the idea of thinking that Cody Rhodes got to come into the third act of this whole show and then kind of disappear for most of the third act of the show, and then he gets to be the one that reaps all the benefits and rewards of it. That's my biggest problem with it. At least if Jay or Sammy got a pinfall before then, I'd feel a little bit better about it, and I think there's quite a few fans who probably think the same thing. And again, I know it comes across as Cody hate. It's not Cody hate. It's just that I think that the groundwork that Jay and Sammy did is every bit as crucial as everything Roman has been doing for this storyline and for Roman Reigns' title run to be as just fantastic as it's been. I know that Sammy got his tag title match at WrestleMania, and I know they got to have the main event at WrestleMania together with the Usos, and that's a really cool moment and all that other stuff, but it's like, come on.
Champions too.
Throw one of them up. Just one more bone, man. Just one more. Just come on. And then Cody can have his, and then everybody gets to go home happy. That's my thought on it. But
I do agree with you with Cody coming in a little bit late. But what I do think that there is an opportunity at Survivor Series to reinsert Cody into that picture somehow, and maybe he's the guy who drives the wedge between Roman and Solo. You know what I mean? Just to kind of get him included somehow.
We've already seen the seeds kind of planted for that.
Yeah, you got to plant the seeds to get Cody, back into that, because you're right. And it's fine. The idea of him coming in at the most opportune time is good, because last year he came in at the least opportune time. The bloodline was as strong as possible at that point.
Yeah.
So, now it's great. The timing works out well. But, it does open up Cody to be looked at as the guy who backdoored his way into being the champion. And they avoided doing that by making him lose at WrestleMania to make him earn it. So now fans can't say, hey, they're shoving him down our throats. Look, if they make him come in at a decent number, wins the Rumble at maybe like 7 or 8, overcomes a lot of adversity to get there, maybe that'll do it. But even still, you're right. He's going to close the story. He's going to finish his story, and probably, maybe the big thing is that maybe he's not the end of the bloodline story. Maybe Solo doesn't turn until after WrestleMania, and then Roman and Solo go on to have their little thing after that to close the whole thing out completely.
That's possible, but my only thing there is I think once Roman loses the title, we do not see him for a while.
I think
he would be. I think the character would be too prideful to show up without the titles. I think that's just how his character kind of presents itself.
The only way I can see it happening is if they have at WrestleMania Heyman and Solo turn on Roman.
even then, I think he just disappears for a while. Let Roman and Solo kind of do their thing, and then that way the fans miss him. And then when he returns, the babyface thing we were talking about before, then you can cheer for Roman because he's here to stop Solo from acting a fool. And so that's
right. So even if he goes away for 6 months, the story doesn't really end there. He comes back to avenge and reclaim his kingdom. So theoretically, they could again keep the story going for another 6 months when Roman's not even in working for the company. Basically, he's on a beach somewhere and hanging out with his family, and Solo can just be a menace, and then he comes back in as the big baby face. Maybe this leads to a SummerSlam match with Cody versus Solo, and bam, reversal of roles. Roman cost Solo the title.
Yeah, there you go. Or you could literally just run it back like he did Payback. No, what is it? He showed up at SummerSlam, I think.
Yes.
Wasn't that it? And he destroyed Bray and
yes, it was
Braun,
SummerSlam.
And then they did Payback a week later. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
you could just do something similar to that. Roman returns and smashes both of them because the fans are tired of Cody as champion already. Because that's definitely going to happen.
You're not kidding. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, I'll move on to. We can keep talking about Bloodline.
I know.
We both agreed it's Jay and Roman at SummerSlam.
100%. It's gotta be.
That's a fantastic. I can't wait for that. That's gonna be brilliant.
And I hope they do a really cool thing with it. Do a billing. It's for the kingdom, or the winner's the tribal chief now, or something like that. Some catchy, cool headline.
And see, that's why I think if you were to do something like this is for not only the title, but this is also for control of the bloodline. I think if Jay has a win over a pinfall over Roman at Money in the Bank, that kind of stipulation can be put upon. Because I don't think that's something Roman would agree to. But if Jay had put any shadow of doubt into his mind, he could bait him into it. Oh, you scared, Oos? You scared because I got one on you. So that's, again, I think more so than Sammy doing it last month at Night of Champions. That was more just wishful thinking. I think Jay pinning Roman right now kind of makes sense. I don't care. Beat him with a chair for 5 minutes before you do it. Whatever you got to do to protect Roman in the title run, and that way when Cody pins him at Mania, it's still special. Do whatever you got to do that. But I think Jay getting the pinfall here is very crucial for the next step in this storyline. Unless they have something that's going to blow my mind anyway, and I'm completely wrong. And you know what? I'm okay with it because, again, they have yet to disappoint me. So all these times I'm wrong, I'm not boo-hooing I was wrong. I'm just like, thank you. Thank you. There we go. I love it. Let's see. Gunther. So, yeah, Gunther has never been pinned. I think he got pinned twice in NXT, and that's the last he ever got pinned.
Yeah, I think when he lost.
Ilja and Braun Breaker was his last.
Yes.
He agrees with So, we will move on to. Oh, y'all already know what it is, baby. Let me get these comments off. Why are they up there still? Brand it, baby. Because anybody that watched some wrestling last night on TNT, we saw the return of this man, CM Punk, to the brand new show, AEW Collision. Lots to talk about in this one. Not just Punk. Because, again, much like the Bloodline, I could probably talk about them all day. And it would be the greatest Father's Day gift I could ever have. But, Collision. We'll focus on Collision at first. What did you think of the overall show, the presentation, top to bottom? AEW Collision, what did you think about it?
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. If AEW Dynamite was like this every week, man, I would be singing its praises till the end of time. They were able to keep the hardcore AEW fans engaged enough with very good wrestling while telling stories throughout, having a seamless, streaming storyline starting from the beginning, working its way all the way to the end, putting a microphone in Punk's hand, sandwiching it, and putting him at the end of the show, with CMFTR. I mean, it's everything that you could have wanted. I loved Collision. If Collision is like this every week, it's gonna be one of those shows that I can say maybe the contender every week for being the best wrestling show on television. And I love to say that about AEW because I've been low on them for a little while.
Yeah. So, let's get this up there. There we go. So. Yeah, I agree. It was a fantastic show. That right there, that was the best weekly episode of wrestling I saw last week, which is crazy to think because again, every single show I watched last night delivered in some way, shape, or form. All of it delivered. But that episode of Collision was like, that's what I want in my professional wrestling. And I know this isn't the Punk talk, I swear, everybody. I'm not just talking because it was Punk's show. That's what everyone's calling it. It's CM Punk's show. The show reminded me, it was a great mix. It had the nostalgic look of a WCW Nitro.
Yes.
The action that I absolutely loved from NXT Black and Gold. The commentary was not overbearing at all. It was very just easy to listen to. I wasn't feeling like I was being forced to listen to a bunch of information. It was kind of just like, it's there, I can accept it. If not, the rest, it was great. Nigel and Kevin Kelly is a fantastic pairing.
I agree.
And everyone that was utilized last night, like, there was no bad match. There was no, this is my biggest I guess praise for it. There was no bells and whistles.
Yes.
There was no like post-match attack after every single match. Things got to breathe a little bit. When Sky Blue got that big win, it was like, celebrate it. Okay, thank you. It wasn't like, let's rush into something else. Let's have Saraya and them beat her down because they just lost. No, let this girl get her moment because it's cool that she got her moment, but I feel like too many times.
And in Chicago.
It's very quick and then post-match beatdown. And they use the post-match beatdown a lot on Dynamite. Like a lot. Collision, if it happened a lot, I didn't it didn't register to me. I don't
think they did at all.
After Andrade, I think they beat Andrade afterwards, but that makes sense because it goes into the House of Black stigma.
Right.
I get it. And he basically presented them to whoop his butt because he tried to shake hands with Buddy afterwards like an idiot.
Right.
So he got what he deserved. Other than that, I don't think there was any. And it was like, yeah, this, because it'll make those other, when it does happen, it'll make it feel better. Like House of Black one sticks out to me because it didn't happen anywhere else.
Right.
This is the perfect blend.
It reminds me, it gives me vibes of, and you mentioned it before, NXT Black and Gold. It was like that perfect, that 1 hour NXT Black and Gold where, that we got, even in just that 1 hour, we got a good blend of good wrestling, enough backstage stuff to keep to keep other people relevant if they're not on the show, and good mic work. It was exactly what I needed in a wrestling show. It's what I love to see in a wrestling show. It's perfect. And like you said, no bells and whistles.
Yeah, no filler. It was literally all meat on the bone on that show. Everything. And for the people who are like, well, there's no stories that came out of it. It was the first episode. It's literally to reintroduce CM Punk, let everybody kind of get a feeling of what the show's about to be about. Next week, tune back in because last week's show was really, really good. This week is where you kind of start to see storylines probably start to take place. They wanted to give you an idea before they said, now enjoy what we're going to give you.
Sky Blue beating, okay, so she didn't pin the AEW Women's Champion, but she pinned, she won a match, against the AEW Women's Champion, right? So, I mean, to me, I think that's going to give Sky Blue, she's going to get a title shot against Toni Storm at one point. I think that's starting off a story. And I think they started off a story with, Andrade and the House of Black. I think that I think stories are taking place, and there is a bit of a continuation, I guess, in with the FTR story from the main event. So I think that there was enough little seeds planted to show that there's actually something that's happening there,
Oh, for sure. I was more speaking to discourse I've seen. I know that there was little seeds planted, but I know sometimes people just kind of ignore little seeds because it's not, I don't know, whatever. You watch it how you watch it, that's fine. But yeah. I agree with you. I think the House of Black one definitely started something. And I think Sky Blue, if we're going to get into a situation where Sky Blue months down the road ends up beating Toni Storm for that title, which I think is a real possibility after watching Collision. I think having what happened on Collision with her beating Ruby Soho and all that and continuing it from Dynamite was the way to go. It's a great move. Yeah. And that is the start of something. So, and we saw CM Punk and Samoa. That's a program that's going to be happening. It's definitely going to be happening. So,
and that was a discourse that we saw online a few times that Punk and Joe have written back and forth when it looked like there was no chance Joe was ever coming to WWE. when he was in TNA, and Punk didn't look like he was going anywhere else. They shot back and forth saying, "Hey man, we'd love to do it one more time." Then Joe gets signed to WWE. Punk, it doesn't look like he's ever going back to wrestling ever again. And
I remember the tweet.
Hey man, let's do it one more time.
The second that Samoa Joe was signed, there was a tweet from CM Punk that said, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me."
I loved it. It was perfect.
Yeah. So seeing that was great. It was. I felt like a dang kid, man.
I was looking forward to just Punk and Joe in a ring again. Was just, to me, I mean, as an old school Ring of Honor fan, that was nostalgia that I didn't think I needed to see. That it almost a little bit gave me goosebumps. It was awesome. It was so fun to watch.
I have another one of those we can get to in just a little bit.
Sure.
I just thought of it off the top of my head, but I have one more question about Collision, because I've seen this discourse as well, and I want to get your opinion before I tell you, in case you haven't seen it. If you were to tell me about Dynamite and Collision, which one of those shows, now that you've seen one episode of Collision, obviously that's not what the show is going to be all the time, I wouldn't imagine. But based on what we saw last night, would you say that Collision or Dynamite is more of a WWE style show?
Dynamite.
Thank you. I'm seeing so many people say that Collision reminded them of a WWE show, and I'm like, how? Because there's an announcer table at ringside. Come on, man. I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
I don't think it aesthetically looked like a WWE show at all. I think it gave me, you said WCW vibes. It gave me WCW vibes. It also gave me a little bit of a little bit of higher production towards the end of the ECW run, vibes too. Like ECW and TNN kind of vibes.
I was going to say it reminded me a little bit of the early TNA a little bit.
That too. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely nothing WWE related there at any point.
And on Dynamite, and I include Rampage on Dynamite because those shows are very, very, very similar in the way that they're presented. You had Mark Briscoe's daddy, and Aubrey in a match against Karen Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett's wife, and that's a WWE. I don't care what anyone says. You can give me crap all you want. Other promotions can definitely do this style of match. You're 100% right. But nobody does it more than WWE, and nobody gets more shit for doing it than WWE does. And AEW has been doing it on Dynamite and Rampage. That kind of, I've just been noticing more. I've been talking about it for weeks now. It's not like this is something I've been saying for weeks, and it's why I've been enjoying the Dynamite shows a little bit more. But I can say, after watching Dynamite, which I still enjoyed, and watching Collision, they're two very different shows. And I enjoy them both for very different reasons. And I know a lot of people wanted to give Tony shit for having another show on Saturday. You know what? Brilliant move. Because it needed to be done based on
that
what
roster's too big. That roster's too big to feature everybody once a week. It just is. And this is going to give people more opportunities. I'd like to see them not do a hard roster split, but what I would like to see is them keep a mid-card title on each show. Like one of them is the TNT. I would say you put the TNT Championship on one show, you put the International Championship on the other,
Well, I do think that they had Wardlow lose last night because Christian Cage and Luchasaurus are going to be a big part of Collision, and that's the TNT title. Collision will be on TNT, so right. I'm hoping what this does, if I'm right here, that belt is more presented on Collision because it's the TNT title. This will make room for Wednesday nights to where Chris Statlander can get some more TV time with that TBS type because, they're on TBS. And just for shits and giggles, I wanted to get this out there. For all the people that were complaining, why is the Raw title on SmackDown? And why is the SmackDown title on Raw? Why was the TBS title on TNT? And why was the TNT title on TBS?
Thank you.
It is what it is. You can choose to be mad about things, or you could just be like, it'll work itself out eventually. And if it doesn't, it's still going to be okay.
Here's the thing. I don't like to be the guy. So there's a couple of things that you said that I kind of wanted to comment on, but we'll start with the last thing first. There's a couple of things that that I don't like to be the guy that says, hey, you know what? WWE, you didn't like this. Well, how about an AEW when they do this? Because it's not fair. No one's talking about AEW. We're talking about WWE. If we're criticizing WWE for something, fine. And I think the criticism was valid. They had a Raw champion on SmackDown, a SmackDown champion on Raw. I agree. It's dumb. But we knew that they weren't going to overshadow the new World Heavyweight Championship with creating 2 brand new championships. They wanted to get that out of the way first. That was more important. They did that. We had it like that for a month, and now the championships aren't brand specific. We're fine. It's over. But no one has anything negative to say when they do it on AEW. Like, it's totally okay. No one complains about it. Why is it okay that they do it and it's not okay that WWE does it? It doesn't make sense to me.
I talk about this stuff a lot, and I'll just say this. I don't care that they do it. I care that people bitch about it, and then people don't bitch about it. That's my biggest gripe. And unfortunately, from my perspective, I'm not saying it's the outright truth. I see AEW people kind of getting more upset about WWE doing these things than I see WWE getting upset about AEW things. Now, again, I'm not saying that's the way it is, but from my perspective, that's how I see it. Because I do know that there are the certain fan base within the WWE group that are just the absolute drizzling poo. I know this for a fact. I'm not a fan of these people either. But with all that set aside, I just thought that was kind of a funny thing that was like, man, we've been watching the TBS title on TNT and the TNT title on TBS for a long time now. And it's like that. There's literally zero reason for that to be the case. That shouldn't be happening. But
can we really quick? What are they? What in the world are they doing with Wardlow? That should be their top guy. What the hell are they doing with that poor guy?
I'll say this too, since you brought it up. I think him losing last night was the right call.
How?
Because I did say on Dynamite that I thought his presentation was the best it's been in months. I thought on Dynamite he looked great. But even so, do you think they need to do something with Wardlow to help him and fix him still?
After last week, I kind of thought they were on the right path.
But even so,
all right, if you continue this.
Hold on. But even after Dynamite, even after we saw what he did, he still needed stuff. They still needed to work on, for sure. Do you do that while having a belt on him?
Yes.
Or do you put a belt, or do you put a belt on an act that is way more over than Wardlow is right now and let that man cook while Wardlow moves away from the title scene, takes some pressure off this man, and kind of start to rebuild him again, if you can. I don't know if you can at this point, but that's why I think putting it on Christian, it's definitely on Christian. It's not on Luchasaurus. It's on Christian. Putting it on Christian was the best thing they could have done. I'm not saying take it off and give it to anybody. I'm just saying the fact that they put it on Christian and Luchasaurus, I think, works wonders.
I love that act. Christian is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Like, hands down, he's like top 10, 15 all time for me. I love Christian.
Yeah, Christian's amazing.
But my thing is this. The only reason why I say they shouldn't have taken the belt off of Wardlow is because they put it on him in the first place. And I mean, look, if they weren't going to, if the idea at that point was going to be that they were going to go down this road, they should have just kept it on Hobbs. I would have been fine with that. Give Hobbs a substantial run. Make it seem like it was, he got like his just due. Get a couple of months in where the reign made a little more sense instead of it just being some weird hot potato thing with the title where no one comes out looking good.
It is very weird.
Wardlow for me.
And Wardlow was one of my favorite acts. It's very weird, and it's not good booking. I agree 100%. When I say I think it was the right call, I'm literally just strictly speaking on the decision to put it on Christian. Because I think you have a made-ready thing right there. Because Christian obviously is like holding the title. He's making it seem like he won the championship. So what you have there is you have a dominant champion in Luchasaurus who's going to be able to run through some people for a while. Then he's going to kind of start to get a little bit tired of the fact that Christian is holding that TNT title. So when he turns on Christian, Christian can then beat Luchasaurus for that title. And then he'll be the real champion for the title. And then guess what that makes room for? Jungle Boy to swoop in and finish his story before 2023 closes by defeating Christian Cage, the man who started this whole thing with Jungle Boy, and closing it. I think you have a great story just right there waiting for you. And again, that's why I'm like, I see why you take it off Wardlow. If you are going the route that I think you're going with it. And even if you're not, I still think they're a better act. So you definitely want to do it. Wardlow just needs to leave. He needs to disappear for a while. Let us forget him. Come back super hot. If he was to leave for 4 months, Max is still champion. And then when he returns, he literally just goes right after Max. I'd be willing to forget all the shit they did prior to when he left Max and be like, this is the program I've been waiting for.
Just make him come back and give me Wardlow from right after he, powerbomb. I powerbombed 20 guys in a match, Wardlow. That's what I want. I want him
And
to
that's
come
what I'm
out,
saying. If
powerbomb the crap out of everybody, give him back that old gimmick, because that's exactly what people. That's what, and it's every company. It's not just WWE anymore. Now it's AEW that does the same thing. Why do you change the things that are getting people over? Everybody loved Wardlow coming out and just powerbombing people, and then they stopped making Wardlow do it. Like, why do you do that? Everybody loved that John Cena rapped, and then John Cena stopped rapping. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, that was an evolution of the character, so I got it.
I understand that he couldn't.
But
do
Wardlow
it
didn't get a chance to
saying,
evolve.
That's just the first thing that popped into my mind. But
I got you. But
WWE
again,
I do that too. Or how about this? When Cesaro, the swing got Cesaro over, and then they made him stop doing the swing in the matches. Like, I was like, what are we doing here? Even if he's a heel, like, why are you, like, if it got him over, let him keep doing it.
Because Vince is a crazy person.
Listen, but it's not just Vince, it's Tony Khan now.
I know. I'm just saying the swing thing, that was that. But with Wardlow, I honestly think if you just let him go, because he's a forgettable person at this point. If he's not on the show, I don't think anyone cares right now, because that's how badly he's been fumbled.
Yeah.
But if he was to leave, and again, 4 months down the road, MJF defeats whoever at the next. So we got All In, we got All Out, and then what's after that? Full Gear?
Yeah, it's either Full Gear or Revolution.
Revolution is the beginning, so Full Gear.
Okay.
So at the end of Full Gear, MJF wins again. He shows up on Dynamite. He's running his mouth. Out comes Wardlow. We haven't seen him since Saturday. And then for next time we see him is at Full Gear. He shows up at Full Gear, walks out. Max is like, what are you even doing here? He doesn't say a word. He just power bombs the man 3 damn times or something like that, and then walks off. And it's like, yep, Wardlow's back. I would literally forget all the shit that happened. And I think a lot of people would, because it's like, okay, yeah, he needed a hard reset. You just did it. Thank you very much. And grow your hair back, dude. Get that man bun back, dude. You look so generic right now. Oh, my goodness. And keep Arn Anderson away from him, too. Oh, my goodness.
Either grow the hair back or change his presentation altogether. I get it, because they talked about this a little bit. I'm a big Major Wrestling Figure podcast guy. They were talking about Wardlow on there a couple of weeks ago. They were like, why? And Ken Cardona brought up the point. Why does Wardlow still wear the straps? Like, the dude's is ripped. Like, he's in such good shape. Why are you covering it? And Mark Sterling brought up the idea of, well, it's the gimmick to take them down. Like, okay, that's cool and all. Dude, you look like $1 million. Stop wrestling covering up your body. I wish I looked like you. If I was looked like you, I would never wear a shirt. Shirts would be invisible.
I get the strap thing, though, because, I mean, it's an interactive part of the match. When Kurt Angle did it during a match, you're like, oh, it's about to go down. So I get him keeping the thing. But with that get up and that hairstyle, he just looks generic, though.
Really does.
It's like, yeah, bro, you messed up. We got this. Aubrey did great. I'll say Aubrey did a serviceable job. That's what I'll say. It wasn't for me. I know people that liked it, so I'm not going to hate on it.
Yeah. I didn't watch. I had zero desire to watch. I'll just leave it to that way.
I was mad that she didn't get a guitar shot over the head again. That's what I'll say.
Why? So she can sell it horribly like she did the first time?
I don't care. I just like seeing people get hit with guitars. I think it's hilarious.
That's fair.
Man, this video right here is going to be taken down off the internet. I guarantee it. I'll see to it. Me and Dom, we're already on it. That ain't cool. That did not even happen. I don't even know what you're talking about, Courtney. That thing's gone.
Wait, hold on. Wait. No. It should not get off the internet. It should stay, because that's obviously, having Dom, holding up Dom's end of the case that Ray should be the one in jail. That's child abuse.
What we got there, that was AI. It just never happened. It just never happened, everybody. AI was going crazy. Next up, we're going to talk about this. NXT talk. Look at that. Oh, man. This never happens either. But we got a match coming up on Tuesday. What you think about this? Because I don't know what to think about it yet. So I'm willing to listen. What do you think about this?
So me and you were a part of the same discourse this week, actually, about this. Someone tweeted about the Seth Rollins title run so far and how they feel like the WWE has fumbled it. And the idea being that this championship was unveiled, then it opened the show. It doesn't seem to have a direction, and now he's defending it on NXT. I see it completely differently. I think this is the greatest thing in the world. I think that if Seth Rollins wants to prove that he is a fighting champion and he wins the title at Night of Champions, immediately open challenge. Finn Balor wants to step up. Boom, I'll take you on at Money in the Bank. But even before I get to Money in the Bank, boom, another open challenge on Raw. Braun Breaker, you want some? I'm a fighting champion. I'll take you on too. I'll come to your house and I'll take you down there. I love it. I think it's great. I think this puts Braun Breaker on everybody's radar again to show that when he comes back up to the main roster, he's going to be a big deal. I think this puts a highlight on Seth Rollins being the guy who is going to say, hey, I'm not going to turn down any challengers. I'm going to come in. I'm going to beat up everybody that gets in my way. I'm going to prove that I am the real champion. You want to make this championship feel real? You want to prove it? You want to make everybody get behind it? Have Seth Rollins defend that damn title as much as possible. This is a great idea.
So I think I've summed it up. And I think it's interesting because we always talk about the Cody and Roman and Jay, that whole dynamic. Man, there's still a real possibility that we could find our way back around to Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins again. And it's like,
or
this
Cody
is how
and
you
Seth.
do it. All the stuff that Seth is doing right now, I don't think people are kind of catching on to it. But I think what Seth is doing with the whole story and like, what's the story with Seth Rollins and his title? It's just an open challenge. Is what he always does. Yeah, but it's needed now for this title more than ever. Because what Seth Rollins is doing is he's trying to prove to you and anybody that will listen, watch, whatever, that I'm everything Roman Reigns is not. And that's why y'all love me for it. So I'm not going to change now because, again, this is what y'all have been wanting. And I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to burn this shit down because I am Seth freaking Rollins. I am a visionary. I am a revolutionary. And you will sing that man's song. I don't care if it's through someone's promo either, you little crybabies. Deal with it. Because Seth Rollins
let's talk about that a little bit, but yeah.
It right now, bro.
Seriously.
Good God, I can't believe people are complaining about him being champion. It's like, this is what we've been wanting. Yeah,
he's given us everything. It's exactly what we wanted. He's given us everything we want. We want a fighting champion. He's given it to us. Yeah. You want a good long-term story? That story between Finn and Seth has started before Seth even won the title. They were in the semifinals. It's perfect. It's the perfect first defense for Seth.
Like Triple H said, stories never end. They take breaks for sure. Seth and Finn has taken a break, and now we're revisiting it. That's literally all it is.
And you bring
on
up
top of that, we have the Damian aspect in there. Like, bro, y'all don't like long-term storytelling. Y'all just hate WWE. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Y'all just wanting to hate, like, because they're giving it to you. You're just refusing to accept it.
And you bring up another great point. We talk about stories never being over, and you bring up the point that this championship is everything that Roman Reigns is not. He's there every week. He's defending against anybody who wants him to defend against. Who do you think that sounds a little bit like as well? Cody Rhodes. So if Cody wins the Royal Rumble, it makes it a little bit more intriguing because does Cody want to go after the guy he couldn't beat? Or does Cody want to go after the guy that he did beat, but is the workhorse champion and is being everything that Cody has said that he wanted to be as well? I don't know if Seth holds a championship until that point, but if he does, it makes that choice a lot more cloudy than just it being, clear as day. He's going after Roman.
Very fast, very simple answer I'll look for here. Do you think it's possible that we see Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 40, where the winner gets one belt? If Cody wins, he like whoever loses their belt. But at Cody, he wouldn't. I'm just trying to think of a way you do a triple threat here because you bring up a good point where Cody is like that kind of the title that he wants. But at the same time, the one Roman has is the one that he kind of was like zoned in on. That's where he has to finish his story. So, but we also know of the story between Cody and Seth that technically that's not over with. Seth, last time we saw him, Seth beat him with a sledgehammer. So it's like there's still there's so many ways they could go.
Remember, prior to Cody coming back, Seth was still doing promos calling Cody out. This ain't over.
Yeah, that's interesting. Cody wins the Rumble, man. Oh my goodness.
I should have plugged in my laptop. Hold on.
Oh, I got you. But yeah, Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. My issue, man. I don't know. The reason I think I have an issue with Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins is because Braun Breaker now seems to kind of be going from position to position, and I think he's set up to lose position to position to position because he just lost his thing with Carmelo Hayes. He's not beating Seth Rollins. He's going to lose to Seth Rollins. And then from there, it seems like he's going to be going into a program with Ilja Dragunov. I don't see him beating Dragunov because Braun Breaker's on his way out of NXT. So him winning and beating people who are going to be staying in NXT doesn't really make sense. So it's like, that's my only issue with Braun and Seth. I also think maybe we should have probably had it on Raw. Get Braun those kind of eyes. I know they want more eyes on NXT because the whole deal's coming up and they want to get as much money as they can. Yeah, they're being cheap businessmen. I get it. But I think if the idea is to get more eyes on Braun, it probably should happen on Raw.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Okay. I can definitely accept that criticism. I like they're doing it on NXT just because Rollins is just like not afraid.
Oh, for sure. I'm not mad.
I do agree. I think you're right.
I just think it's a 1A, 1B thing, and 1A is Raw. I think Raw is just a better one. I still think it's a great idea to do with B. But yeah, that's that. We'll transition into the Seth Rollins Finn Balor promo because oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Real short answer. You liked it, you hated it.
Loved it.
There you go.
Loved it.
Smart man.
Why are we mad that fans are doing something that's over? Let me tell you something. You put up something on Twitter that, oof. When I saw it, irked me to no end. Somebody comparing the Seth Rollins singing to the Watt chant. It made my stomach turn. That dude is getting that reaction when he walks out. It's during Seth Rollins, time, and that's it. They're not singing throughout everybody else's promo throughout the entire show. They're not doing it just to be disruptors. They're doing it when Seth Rollins is in the ring. I love it. I absolutely love it. And Finn Balor's my favorite wrestler on the roster.
And just I've seen some people catch on to it, but a lot of people didn't. Literally, Finn started that whole thing off by saying, "I don't want to hear y'all singing his song." Oh, really? You're daring me, Finn Balor? Hey, the kind of fan I am, I hear you tell me not to do something, I'm going to do it because you're the bad guy and I'm supposed to be against you. So you don't want me singing? I'm going to sing. You don't want me to cheer Seth? I'm going to cheer Seth. That's the role. And Finn knows this.
There's another spot in that promo where Finn, they're quieting down. They're finally starting to get a little bit quiet, and Finn riles them right back up again. Finn wanted that.
Finn knows what he was doing, man.
He knew exactly. He knew how much it was. The more it annoyed him, the more it made it look like he couldn't get those words out, and the more it builds up the program. Finn knows what he was doing. When he finally got it out, everything was so good. And once he started talking and Seth started responding, you see what happened? They shut up. They let both of them talk. Yeah. But every time Finn opened his mouth, there was still a subsection of fans that were still singing that song because Finn called them out saying that that's what they shouldn't be doing. When the heel says don't do it, fans do it. That's what you do. It's masterful heel work from Finn, and it shows that Seth is so over.
It is not just because of this song, like I've seen other people say. But what I liked the most about the singing is it added to...
They're the same people that'll be like, oh, Daniel Bryan only got over because of a chant. Come on. Come on.
That's
like,
part
if
of
you think that's the case, you guys are just morons.
Yeah. That's just part of it. But the whole idea behind Finn is that he feels like Seth, he just kind of feels slighted by Seth. Like he goes, man, you're living the best life, but you took everything from me. And had you not done that, I'd be where you're at. And that's the whole thing. And to have the fans just kind of rub it in his face even more so is like, that's adding layers to this. Open your eyes, people. This is crazy. And I think the part about it that annoys me the most is WWE fans, I think it's safe to say, for the most part, aren't the best. There's many shows where we see them sitting on their hands, not interacting. And what do we always do when we see it? Like, what is wrong with y'all? We don't deserve y'all. We should send all the shows overseas because those fans know how to act. Well, in Wichita, we had some fans that knew how to act. I don't care if they were hijacking a segment. They paid money. They're doing something that's part of the show, and they're heightening the experience, in my opinion. Because when the fans are reacting, there's never been a show where I watch and I'm like, man, these fans are fucking it up because they're overreacting. No.
The only time it ever happens is the what chance. That's the only time it drives me nuts. And other than that,
while we're on the subject here of what chance, I'm going to go ahead and take a stance here. There is nothing wrong with the what chance. I get that people are like, okay, he's gone. It's been this long. Who cares? Do people get mad when the fans just start going, woo, throughout the entire arena? No, that's a Ric Flair thing. It's not a Charlotte thing. Just don't even get at me, people. It's a Ric Flair thing. Ric Flair hasn't wrestled, and I don't want to talk about Ric Flair's last match. Realistically, Ric Flair hasn't wrestled in what, like over 10 years?
Even still, he's wrestled a match in 15 years. Who can, you know what I mean? Like, so even if you want to go,
I don't know what he's doing in TNA. That's why I don't know. But I know his, what was it, 2008? He retired in WWE, I believe it was.
Yeah, he had like maybe about 5 or 6 matches after that. He had a couple in TNA, he had a couple overseas, and he had Ric Flair's last match. So the guy's wrestled what, 10 times in 15 years?
And we're going to be hearing woos forever. That's part of the show. It's part of wrestling, and the fans are using it to interact.
It's a cool part of the match, though. Like, that doesn't bother me too much. My thing is that when you can tell that somebody's really trying to get something out and they do the watch chance and it's really kind of messing with them, I know that the performer should overcome. But like the idea that, you know, that, and believe me, I'm with you. But sometimes I'm like, damn, guys, all right, just lighten up just a little bit. Like, let's just, because sometimes it's just annoying when I'm just like, all right, I want this promo to be over. I want to see where it's going. Shut up, just so we can get through this.
Okay, so here's something I picked up. I watched RuPaul's Drag Race with my lady. That's one of the other shows we watched together. And one of the things they do, it's a game where they act as celebrities. And they have to not only dress up like the celebrities, they have to talk like them. They have to have the zingers like them. They have to really embody the characters that they're playing. And what they'll do is they'll start throwing zingers at each other when they see someone struggling. They throw zingers at each other to kind of be like, hey, here's a layup. Let's see what you can do with it. And sometimes it helps that particular drag queen get out of their funk, and then they save themselves. Other times they falter, and then guess what? They get voted off because they shouldn't be there. You lost, and we just weeded out the weak. The what chance, I think, do this. They force people to step up and be like, all right, if I'm struggling, what can I do to combat these what chance? It's giving you an open opportunity to interact with those fans and either get them on your side or piss them off even more. If people were to utilize it the right way, it's a tool, not a hindrance. And I can't ever be mad at fans for literally going to a show and having fun. They're having fun with these what chants. It's the same as when I went to the Royal Rumble and there was no LA Knight around, but all I'm hearing is, yeah. And I'm like, this is cool because LA Knight has made that big of an impact.
There was a lot of
Adam Cole made this much of an impact, much like Ric Flair. And I think a lot of people would put those as 2 of your top 3 all time. It's just their impact. That's literally all it is.
Yeah, no, because you're right. When I went to NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2, and that's the Adam Cole Ricochet match. This is even before Adam Cole's main event world champion, because he lost North American title.
He lost North American title in this match. This was a horrible, horrible night for me.
Sorry about that. I was there live. It was an amazing night for me because
I hated Ricochet so much after that.
Every match that night though was absolutely fantastic.
It was a fantastic card. Yeah,
but throughout the entire show, all you would just randomly hear is just boo, because Adam Cole was getting over. I do love hearing stuff like that. That works for me. I get what you're saying. I just think that sometimes the what chants fall into the category of wrestling fans trying to do stupid things to get themselves over, and that's what I don't like. Like when there's nobody like wrestling in the ring and they're chanting other people's names, like chanting for the announcers or like chanting for like the Macho Man in the middle of the match. I'm like, come on, guys! Like,
I don't like those. I don't like those things. But with the what, and again, I'll combat what you were just saying with how it's the fans who are like, I'm gonna get one over and blah blah. I don't think the fans who are going to these shows have that mindset. People on the internet wrestling community, if they were paying money to go to these shows, which a lot of them aren't, they act like, I know for like they're not.
Of course they do.
But if those are the people we're talking about, yes, 100%, because a lot of them are marks for themselves. And again, I'm sitting here with a crown on my head, so I don't have a lot of room to talk, but I'm open about it.
There's
I'll
a difference.
tell you.
There's a difference. You're not going to a show. I mean,
Be an asshole. I'm going to the show to have fun.
On Twitter,
yes.
We see that it's like, go, like we hate the WWE. Take over the show tonight during every, this segment. Chant this.
And it never happens.
It never does.
It's because those fans are not going to the show, and that's why I don't ever look at the what chant as something that's being done disrespectfully. It's more of just like okay, man, what you got to say? What? Come on, what? It's just interactive. And I guess it's hard to remember this sometimes, that the fans that are going to the shows and the fans that we see interacting online all the time are just not the same. I've been to multiple AEW shows, and I've never once at an AEW show met one of the cringe fans. I know they're not all cringe, so I'm just saying, as far as the cringe ones go, I've never met them at a show. I have met them at a con, but I know they exist, so it is what it is. But we got LA Knight is the Rock. I see the things said a lot. I hear it better. Come on, man. He's LA Knight sapien as well. He's almost an LA Knight. That's his number one, number two.
I love LA Knight. Don't get me wrong. I mean, and a lot.
I'll say he might be better than The Rock. I'll go with that. I'll go with that one.
Look, it's too fast to tell. If he gets to be on that level, then sure, we'll put him in the conversation. My thing about this is everybody's sitting there and saying, he's so over. Why is he a heel? Because the second you turn that guy babyface, you're going to turn your backs on him. He's got to be a heel. He works as a heel. Him being, a tough talking babyface will come. He's got to have that heel run like The Rock to make you kind of like, quote unquote, hate him, so that the turn makes it better, so that all of his heel things can get over in a babyface way.
I would never fully turn him. I would just kind of.
He's got to be in Austin.
Yeah. Or kind of like The Rock.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
My bad, Lou. My bad. I know you mad at me, man. My bad. I got caught up doing some stuff. It's fine today, man. I was busy today or something. I got an excuse in there somewhere. My bad, bro. You can always just go back and watch the replay, baby.
You were on a boat.
Yeah. So, man,
on a boat.
We got anything else we want to talk about, discuss?
I'm trying to think if there's anything big that's happened that.
Faces are usually boring. You're 100% right. It is so much harder to be a face. It is so fucking hard. Yeah, so it's better to just let someone like LA Knight just do what he's doing. Don't turn him babyface. Just let him be a babyface by being who he is. I think that's the best way to handle it.
Yeah,
appreciate it. Forbidden Door. Let's touch on Forbidden Door for a little bit.
Sure.
Because I don't think we've gotten a chance for you to kind of. I know you're excited for the Okada match. I know you are. I haven't really got a chance for you to I guess, praise what we're about to see with it. So let's go ahead and touch on Forbidden Door, because I think it's turning out to be, on paper, one of the coolest cards I've ever seen. But
AEW has done everything that we have asked them to do with Forbidden Door this year that they didn't do last year. We're getting video packages for these Japanese wrestlers. We're getting, intrigue before the match. People are being built. They're flying guys in prior to the event to build stories. Look, people might hate the idea of the, that whole that WWE SmackDown 2006 ending that they had to Dynamite the other night. I loved it. Will Ospreay coming out of nowhere.
It's chaos, man.
Oh, it was awesome. It's so cool to see. I love that stuff. That gets everybody pumped up.
Chaos is fun.
Absolutely. I loved it. I think it was awesome. I think it completely offset a main event that, to me, at the end, there were a lot of, some things that were going on during that match. I'm like, guys, can we learn what a hard cam is? But outside of that,
Question real quick on that match, and just, you can nod your head. That's all you have to do. Was that 50-50 booking? Okay, continue. Continue. That's all I'll say. You can continue.
Yep. But so thank you. Ospreay showing up got me hyped. That's the thing. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be hyped for this kind of stuff, and that's what they're helping us do. They're bringing these guys in. That Danielson and Okada package was perfect. I don't need much more than that.
No.
They're going to call each other out. That's it. Perfect. Boom. You're piquing my interest because that's a dream match. Everything else has been built the proper way. They're doing everything right. Do you want the 2-sentence verdict on this whole thing? You know how I felt about Forbidden Door last year. After seeing Dynamite the other night, I sent a text to my group chat that straight up said, "Guys, I never thought I'd say this. Where are we watching Forbidden Door?"
Yeah,
I'm hyped. I want to see it.
AEW
has gotten me to want to see a pay-per-view, and it's a pay-per-view in a million years. If you would have told me they would get me this hype for Forbidden Door, I would have laughed in your face. Good on AEW, good on Tony Khan. They got me there.
So I'll say this, doing like my awards last year that people tend to do because they all feel like their opinions are extremely valid and want to be heard. I flat out said I thought Forbidden Door could have been my show of the year had there been any build to it whatsoever. Like, that's how good the show was. I just think the show was phenomenal from top to finish. Like, it was just phenomenal. I just didn't care enough to like be invested.
I'm disappointed I missed it because everybody told me the same thing.
Yeah, it really just Orange Cassidy. That's where I became an Orange Cassidy fan, because before I was kind of like, I know he's good, but it's like, man, this character's. But then I watched that match. I was like, you know what? Why do I even care? That dude is phenomenal. So hopefully he can pull something out of Zack Sabre Jr. because I am not a fan of Zack Sabre Jr. based on what I've seen. I'm not crapping on the Zack Sabre Jr. is great at what he does. I have not seen a match that makes me say like I'm interested. That's all I'm saying. He's fantastic at what he does. Just not what
this stuff at the Cruiserweight Classic that when he was in WWE for that brief stint?
No.
Okay. I think he did well there. Zack Sabre Jr. to me is one of those guys that's like my kind of a guy, a gritty, submission-based, guy that's going to try to just and wear you down. I like that kind of a style. I understand there's a lot of people that don't.
Most of the matches I've seen him do, that's all he's doing.
Yes.
It's just kind of boring to me. I asked my buddies, I was like, is he basically just a better version of Drew Gulak? And they said, no, he's way better. And I'm like, and then they were explaining to me stuff. It kind of just sounds like he's Drew Gulak, just a lot better. And that's not a knock on Drew Gulak. I've just heard fantastic things about Zack Sabre Jr. I just haven't seen anything to make me go like, again, I like him. So here we go. Donnie says the Zack Sabre Jr. versus Claudio was the only match I saw from him, and it was my favorite match. Hey, that's cool. That was probably one of my least favorite matches on Forbidden. I forgot it even happened. Like, that's how like uneventful it was. But again, that's not a knock on Zack Sabre Jr.
What's that? I'd love to see Zack Sabre and Danielson. I think that would have been
that might be what he was expecting this year.
Yeah. And you know what? Look, I'm glad. I don't know how much Danielson's got left. They can do Zack Sabre Jr. some other time. But you got the idea of going with Okada. You take the match because please God give me that match.
Yeah. You can wait for Zack Sabre Jr. if you're going to get Okada. You don't. I'm not sleeping on Gulak. I'm just saying based on what I've heard about Zack Sabre Jr. I've seen people say he's like the most crisp, smooth wrestler that's ever wrestled. Like, I've heard literally just those kinds of things about him. So I know he's fantastic at what he does. Just not my style.
I've just never seen anybody transition in and out of submissions like he has. And
it's very smooth what he does. Yeah. It's very impressive. It kind of reminds me of GSP and UFC, and I hated GSP because they were just boring matches. He's just kind of grinding you down. It's like, that's not what I'm here for.
That's fair.
Jump off of a fucking cage, man.
I'll give you it.
Do you think we get MJF versus Tanahashi?
I think so. They keep building for it. I mean, I can't see why they won't. I think he's going to just get to a point where I would love it if we don't get it just because MJF just keeps going, no.
I'm going to go ahead and say this. I flat out I don't think it's happening. I saw somebody bring up a theory that I was like, you know what? I'm pretty convinced it's not happening, and that's what we're getting because it's perfect. If MJF wrestles, again, anybody that's watching is probably not going to like this if they're pro AEW and it's strictly pro AEW. But if MJF wrestles Tanahashi at Forbidden Door, I think you're doing damage to his character because his character is legit. Like, I'm not going to do that. And he's proven to us in the past that if he doesn't want to do something, he ain't going to do that. He don't care.
And if he really doesn't want to do something, he's going to make you earn it.
Yeah. So him flat out refusing to wrestle Tanahashi goes with the character. And I think if you could risk doing, I don't want to say incredible damage, but you're going to do a little bit of damage to the character if you're basically saying, yeah, he's going to wrestle Tanahashi. Because everything I've seen from Max says he is not going to wrestle Tanahashi. And that's before he even said no. I'm talking about when Tanahashi challenged him, I was like, MJF's going to say no. He's not going to wrestle this guy. At the last press conference he talked about, he goes, I'm not wrestling these guys. None of them can lace my boots. So like, it doesn't make sense. But a certain someone on Saturday, he's holding the belt now. And he was the original plan to face Tanahashi last year. Kent's ain't happening. I know everyone's talking about it's not happening. It's never gonna happen. So just forget it. Punk versus Tanahashi, though, I think that's where we go instead of MJF. What do you think?
I think that if Punk wants to be, the company guy, that's the way you prove it. And you do it in a way where you even show it, meaning like, oh, you guys don't think I care about AEW? Fine. Max doesn't want to step up to Tanahashi. I'll step up to Tanahashi for AEW.
I'll do something your guy it refuses to do.
Absolutely.
But I'm the bad guy.
And it brings MJF and Punk into that same stratosphere one more time.
Which, again, I saw a graphic that shows they could main event All In. And I think if you do Tanahashi and Punk at Forbidden Door, you literally have the blueprint to go into All In with them main eventing and finishing the trilogy, which needs to happen because it's the best thing AEW's done to date. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Again, one last question about Forbidden Door.
Sure.
I don't know much about Sonata. I was very shocked at who answered the open challenge, though, for the IWGP Championship. Are you okay with a Jungle Boy Sonata Forbidden Door match? Because I don't know.
So I don't hate it. Here's the thing. I think that Sonata is in a position where he's not a guy that people are sitting there and thinking to themselves, who's his dream match? You know what I mean? I think that it's smart because it makes Jungle Boy seem a little bit higher. Like they're trying to position Jungle Boy as a main eventer. They put him in the main event of the last show. They've been trying to keep him up, in that respect. And I think that this is a good way for Jungle Boy to show the positives of his character. Because he doesn't need to cut a lot of promos, especially for something like Forbidden Door. Yeah. He just needs to be a good wrestler. Do I think that there were other options that may have been a little bit better? Sure. Do I care that much about who those other options were? Not really. It's a match against Sonata. It doesn't bother me too much. If Jungle Boy wanted to be on the card and Tony Khan was like, hey, you know what? You want to be on the card? Fine. We'll put you on there. I'm all for it. I don't hate it.
Okay.
I don't know what this big amount of Jungle Boy hate's been coming up on the internet.
Yeah, I don't either. Because, again, anybody that has watched me is just many shows, like, I like Jungle Boy. I co-sign Jungle Boy. I think he's one of the most innovative and creative in-ring wrestlers today. Like the combinations he comes up with, I'm amazed by. Love him.
And you know what?
He has kind of fallen off a little bit lately. I will say that. I don't know Sonata though. All I do know is I've seen some very pro AEW New Japan fans kind of very unimpressed with Jungle Boy versus Sonata. I don't see the criticism come from that fan base towards their product this heavy. So I felt like I kind of wanted to get an opinion on it. I don't know.
And I agree. Look, on paper, I don't think the match looks great, but I think that it's going to deliver. And, the other thing that I'll say about Jungle Boy is look, the big criticism on Jungle Boy is he's not a good talker. Okay. So why is it that it's okay? It's not okay that Jungle Boy's not a good talker, but whenever anybody talks about like Nakamura's run in WWE, and people are like, well, dude, he's not going to get into a main event spot in WWE. He can't cut a promo. Why does that matter? Why does it matter if he can cut a promo? They can put a guy with him. They can pair somebody with him. They can let somebody talk. Why is that not the same for Jungle Boy? Why can't we I never understood the criticism of, if you're going to tell me that it's okay that other people can't be a good promo, why is it not okay that Jungle Boy's not the greatest promo?
To be fair, them kind of giving him clap back for trying to put him against Sonata. I mean, that kind of falls in line with that a little bit. They're like, yo, he shouldn't be facing Sonata because it doesn't work. To be fair, I think that you could say that's what's happening here, is because he had the 4 pillars one, and we're okay with it because we wanted this match for a long time. But don't keep trying to do this until he improves. That's the only thing I could think of as to why they would hate the idea of Jungle Boy being in this position.
I also don't think
I've never seen him get hate
Sonata being in that position either. I don't think that they like Sonata as the champion. I don't think they like that Sonata's going in, like that they're doing this pay-per-view going in with Sonata as the holding that gold. I think doesn't sit well with a lot of AEW fans either. I think this is one of those things where they're like, why couldn't that belt be on somebody like Naito or Tanahashi or Okada for an event like this? So I think that it's bad on both ends. I think that they're not happy that Sonata's the champion, and it's even worse that it's Jungle Boy that's facing him.
You couldn't have it on Okada because if it's on Okada, you know damn well that Bryan Danielson is going to lose. I think you already know damn well Bryan Danielson is going to lose, but at least if there's no title involved, it's like, well, there's still a very small possibility he could. Absolutely. Okada's champion, there's 0% chance Bryan Danielson's beating him and becoming the IC. It's just not going to happen. So I do get why you don't have it on Okada. Naito, the other guys, I don't know. I'll be honest, I've seen very little of Tanahashi, but the little bit I have seen of Tanahashi, I haven't seen anything that warrants the hype that I see from him. So
interesting.
But that's just my opinion. Again, that's not me saying the guy sucks. I've seen a very, very, very small sample, much like Okada. When I say things like I think Okada's a little bit overrated, it's because I have a very small sample. It's not a fact what I'm saying. It's just my opinion based on my small sample. You can prove me wrong. Send me some stuff to make me change my mind. I know my buddy Zane used to do that all the time. That's why I absolutely love Jay White now, because he would send me stuff about Jay White. I'm like, yo, Jay White's awesome. So, but that's just my. But I do think that's why you don't have it on Okada right now. I
agree.
Yeah,
I'm 100% with you. I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying I think that's what some people are saying that, you know.
Does NATO have something for Forbidden Door yet that I may have just missed? Not yet.
I've seen. Yeah. And you know what? I haven't kept up with New Japan. I don't even know if Naito's like a main event guy right now anymore. You know, I haven't been keeping up with it, so it's hard for me to kind of. I've seen enough of Sonata to understand where people are coming from, but I've also seen enough of Sonata to understand that it's not. This match isn't just specifically soured on because of just Jungle Boy. It's both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know Sonata, but Jungle Boy, and this is exactly my thoughts. Is I literally don't know. When they said Sonata was the IWGP champion, I was like. Oh. I was blown away. I followed enough to where I tend to know some things. I didn't know who Sonata was though. So, Bangers. Yeah, I love Jungle Boy match. I don't think there's been a Jungle Boy match I hated. So,
yeah.
Same way he feels about Jungle Boy and Switchblade is dope. Oh my God! Before we go, I do have to ask you about it because I marked out like a little boy the other day. I don't care. Kiss my butt, everybody. Sting, Chris Jericho, face-to-face on Dynamite. On a scale of 1 to 10, how ridiculously freaking awesome was that moment?
5 billion.
Thank you so much.
Chris Jericho, look, people can talk the trash that they want to talk about Chris Jericho.
I do.
And you have.
I'm one of them.
You have. I don't care what anybody says. I don't think Jericho, I think that a lot of people are very harsh on what they say about Jericho. I think that Jericho has been awesome. I think that he's made enough, he's made enough guys to the point where this is the spot where he should be. Jericho and Sting, a match we never really got to see in WCW, a guy who built his legacy, elsewhere while Sting was, adding on to his legacy in WCW. It's a program that I've wanted to see since things come to AEW. I think it's a great story. I think that Jericho and Sting are, and I think it's great that Jericho for the past 4 months, everybody's been like, man, as soon as they announced Sting was retiring, everybody's like, they got to do something with Sting and Jericho, right? And he's like, I don't want him. I don't want him. I don't even want him. I don't care. I love when. Sometimes Jericho's internet presence is a bit overbearing for me. Sometimes he's great. And this is the part where, to me, he's great. Like, he's just like I don't want him. I don't need to face Sting. I'm bigger than Sting. And, of course, a month later, they're in the same ring together. And I'm like, bless your heart, Chris.
So my girl, she got home late on Wednesday, and I was explaining to her the moment that happened. And I was tearing up just explaining it to her. Because this isn't a match I wanted to see. Like, I wanted to see this in WCW. because I was one of the people that while Chris was in WCW, even as a kid, I was like, this guy should be up there with everybody else because he's far more entertaining than everybody else is. And he's doing things in the ring that they can't do. So why is he not getting this opportunity? This is crazy. And Sting was, as Bryan Danielson calls himself now, the litmus test. That's what Sting's kind of thing was in WCW. He was WCW. So to kind of cement yourself, you got to have a match at the very least with Sting. And we never got it with Chris Jericho. And I'm like, that's damn shame. And then to think that they've had the careers they've had for as long, Sting 40 years, Chris Jericho almost 30 years, and they've never been face to face before.
Isn't that crazy?
And we got it. There's no reason to complain. If you're complaining, you don't love professional wrestling. I'm sorry.
There are very few times where there are people that have been in the industry at the top of the industry for that long haven't shared a ring. You know, Undertaker and Sting are like one of the only guys that that people talk about all the time that really, that really talk about that really hasn't happened. But this is another one. These are two top guys in the industry, and they just never got in the same ring together until now.
I know it sounds crazy because it's never been something that's been discussed, but now that it's happened, to me, this is a cooler deal than Sting and Undertaker because at least there's a little bit of history behind these two, whereas there's literally none behind Sting and Undertaker. They're just the top dogs that were loyal to their brands the longest. So but Sting and Chris Jericho, that has history to it. You're one of the reasons I couldn't get through. Chris Jericho.
The longer I think about Sting and Undertaker, just real quick, I think that they would that whole thing, them facing each other, doesn't even do it for me. I think they would have been way better off as a tag team in general. What would they have to feud about? I think they have more in common. Why wouldn't they just team up?
It could just be going after the streak. That's what it would have been. And
sure, I think that would have been the story short.
I think as far as how good they are at in-ring psychology and working with several different styles, which is something we don't see a lot of anymore. But Sting and Undertaker could literally work with anybody.
I agree.
They were very, very smart with how they did their matches and everything. So I think they would have been able to have a really, really fun match.
Oh no, I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying character-wise, I think they just make way more sense as being guys who team up rather than guys.
I think Sting comes in as the franchise saying hey, you got this streak, but you never had to deal with someone like the franchise. It's a very simple story you could tell, that everyone else did.
The ultimate thing for me would have been that they teamed up for 6 months and then somebody would have turned on the other one and then they would have had a big match to blow it off. Or, something comes in between them like a championship or even the streak and then it happens. I think it's just more fun of a story that way. I think everybody was like, these two guys, let's see who wins. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool.
I always wanted to see someone win the Royal Rumble and instead of challenging for the title, be like, I want Undertaker for his streak. I always wanted to see that, and I'm so sad it never happened. I think Sting's another one you could have done with that. Titles are beneath me.
I love that too.
Yeah. I don't need titles anymore. I have a much bigger man, that would have been cool. I always wanted that to happen. It never happened. I'm so mad. Wish it happened. For sure, man. I wish it would have happened in WCW because Chris Jericho was at his most creative in WCW, and that program would have been phenomenal.
So can I debate that a little bit? Yeah. I'm actually almost happier that it's happening now for one reason.
No, yeah.
I think Chris Jericho, character-wise, it makes much more sense to have a feud against Sting right now than it did 20 years ago. I think, yes, you could have done the up-and-coming Chris Jericho goes against Sting in WCW, but there's no other end to that story other than Sting beating Chris Jericho. I think now there's a lot more. Okay, so if it would have happened in WWE when Sting came to WWE,
that would have been stupid.
I think it would have been a little bit better at least because then I think both of those guys are a lot more in their prime of their careers. And again, it's a Jericho that would have been a heel enough, on a main event level to feel like he was on Sting's level. That's what I think. I think they're on all right, maybe Sting's here and Jericho's here, but they're much closer on a level where in WCW it was like this,
Oh, for sure, but that's how you get. That's how you kind of get those guys up to the next level. But in WWE,
logically, of course that makes sense. But WCW never did that. They never played unless your name was Goldberg. It never made sense with logic. It took Booker T 75 years.
The problem with Chris Jericho in WWE when Sting was there is Chris Jericho wasn't looked at there. He was kind of still a mid-card guy. because he fluctuated all the time. Chris Jericho, he'd go main event, mid card.
Sure,
at the time he was at the mid
put
card
Jericho
level.
in any position at any time, and it
So,
wouldn't be believable.
The reason it works so great now is because I feel like they're pretty much even. I think they're looked at as equal.
I agree 100%
right now.
I think that right now is the best time.
So it works, but I also think it worked 20 years ago where Chris Jericho could be the whole little, it's people like you are holding me back, and then he gets to be the conspiracy theorist, which he did to a fucking T perfection. Yep. And Sting just gets to do the whole like, come on, kid, just Chris Jericho, and the matches would have been fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Chris Jericho used to be so damn sweet in the ring, bro.
Do we think we see Painmaker Jericho for this Sting feud? Because I think that's where he goes, right?
Yeah, for sure. He's going to pull out all the stops on Sting. Yeah, for sure.
It has to wear some face paint if he's going to face Sting. That seems to just be a rule. Brian Cage did it, which, by the way, coolest Brian Cage look I think I've ever seen. But
I do think it's funny when I see the wrestlers wear the paint like Sting. I love it.
No, I love it. I feel like it's like a rite of passage when you feud with Sting. You got to do it.
They're like, man, I don't give a shit. I'm marking. It's the same stuff I do. They're like, I'm marking out.
I'll use it in a heel way, but I'm going to pay homage.
If I was to get in the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin, bro, he's going to stun me 20 times. I don't care if it doesn't make sense. He's going to do it because I want him to do it. They want to dress up like Sting because that was their guy. And
I'm going to take the most over-exaggerated bump on that stunner, too, because I'm going to live my dreams.
Yeah, I'm gonna be barrel rolling up the rampway.
Dude, you literally took the words out of my mouth.
And then barrel roll back down because I don't get quite up to the top. I don't go over the hump. And then I'm like, oh, shit. And then I go all the way back down. Bro, here you go. Listen, I am a mark. I don't care because this is what I'll say. As a mark, I guarantee you I enjoy this shit way more than so many other people do.
I agree.
I guarantee it because I mark the fuck out. But that's that. Anyways, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for watching. We will be back next week with another episode of Positively Awesome Wrestling. We will be doing predictions and is Forbidden Door this weekend? Next week. I think it's next week.
Yeah, wait, because Money in the Bank is the first week of July, right?
Yes.
So because next Saturday is the 25th. It's got
we might do the show early if it's possible.
Is it a Saturday or a Sunday pay-per-view?
It's a Sunday pay-per-view. They're not going to do Saturday pay-per-views because of Collision.
Right. All right, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, and when we figure it out, I'll let y'all know so that y'all are aware just as much as we are. But yeah, we'll be talking about Forbidden Door, and then I think Money in the Bank is literally the weekend after.
It is, but it's a Saturday. But that's a Saturday at 3:00.
So we'll do the predictions for that one as well because we pretty much know what we're getting there.
Yeah.
And also real quick before we go, Ray Keller, Trish Stratus, who wins tomorrow?
I think Becky costs Trish and Raquel wins.
Makes sense. Same here. But with that, if you have anything you want to plug real quick, go ahead and hit it up right now.
Slam Sessions Network on YouTube. Just go there, watch some of my old stuff, and some new stuff is. I keep saying it's coming soon, but I'm in the process of doing about 75 different things. Just wrapped filming up, my movie and stuff. So I think I'm gonna start getting to editing pretty soon.
There you go, everybody. Go check it out. Slam Sessions. That's where it is at, and that's where it is going to be. And y'all know me. I am here every Sunday night with the crew. Hopefully we'll get tidy back soon, but no rush on it at all. Happy Father's Day once again to everybody. And there's no raw recap. Again, if you watched last week's, I am taking a hiatus. So when it comes back, I will let you know. But until then, no raw recap. So this is where you will find me on Sundays. Check that out. And also go over to WrestleBuddy and check out our news coverage on Sundays with our main man, Tyler Peters, everybody's favorite wrestle buddy. And then also they have a new podcast coming out. It's called Let Us Talk to You. Yeah. Make sure you want to check that one out as well. And that's that.
Yeah.
But
keep your eyes peeled on that too, because you might see some familiar faces on there.
There you go. Yeah. That's going to have some interchanging going in there. So you'll see multiple faces on that one. So definitely check that out. But with that said, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all the support as always. Love you all. And please, for the love of God, do not forget to just enjoy wrestling, people. Please.